that's the thing that always happened. I mean, I've had friends that lost a ton of weight, and they have collapse of skin.
He had it.
And they wanted to get it removed.
Yeah.
But this guy didn't. This guy, his whole body shrunk. Was this Rafael someone? Yeah.
I heard about it.
But that was the fascinating part of the story. It was like, whoa, look at this guy. Not only did he live off of his fat,
I would think our stomachs and our digestive system needs time. It's not used to just constantly taking food on demand. Or wake up, coffee, donut, like. So I could either send them on, through the fields, which we did in the beginning, but eventually now he's climbing mountains too.
If you talk to a doctor, you're not doing that. Because I have talked to doctors. I'm like, is it even possible? But that could have happened. Not this time, but I mean that is a possibility.
It shows you what is possible.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. That's what I meant. That like a civilization could engineer a pandemic and infect another civilization.
So powerful as a weapon. Oh my God! Look what it crippled the whole world.
Crippled the whole world. Crippled our economy.
Like that.
And we are the worst at it. If you look at all the other countries, no one's done a worse job of dealing.
I think it explodes.
Our health. Yeah.
Little rift now, right? Like shit going on.
Well, that's like a bunch of people, and they're gonna bring it to their home, and it's gonna get to them. They're gonna go to work. They're gonna give it to other people at work or other people wherever gatherings that they get to. Whenever you're having like the way music festival all across the country, weeks at a time. And that's what the protest was. I'm sure it had an impact. And if you looked at the numbers, it's like so many bars had a big impact on it. A lot of drunk talk in bars, you're right on top of each other, you're drinking, your inhibitions are down, you're not thinking, you're not washing your hands, you're yelling. Yeah.
So we get a call. I was definitely on the side. You said, Joe, what's your stance on the whole thing? My stance was, I think we should shut down for a period of time to get the hospitals on the medical system state, but I'm just not a believer that we should shut down. Yeah, like it has some negative consequences. Is that right? Like people lose their shit. Forget about money. So I'm putting the race aside. We're shooting down there. We put all the protocols in place. I'm a little annoyed because it's not going to be the race I'm used to, where everybody's like getting together in the festival area. I can't have like mud pits where we're mingling people. So I don't know how it's going to go. I drive with my family because I got to be there. If I'm the leader of the program, I got to be there. Drive with my family down the East Coast. When I get to South Carolina, there's no virus. There's like corn dogs and partying and the beach is full of people all the way to Florida. It was completely different than New York and everywhere else. Like it was game on. So it's not shocking that
the virus is huge down there.
Yes.
So the virus in Florida. They said Florida, if it was a country, would be the 4th highest rate of infection.
I gotta tell you, and I'm not, we put on a good, safe, really good event. And so far, knock on wood, no issues. But like, there was no action, no program, nothing down in the States.
Do you impose tests on the...
We did tests. All of our employees, we tested with a swab. Touching your brain with a swab. I'm like, you're rusting on my hand.
Did you temperature checks?
We did temperature checks. I'm not just saying it. My team went overboard.
Right.
It was annoying to me at how good they did it. And you can't make money like that. You can't get enough people in the event, right? I got to space them.
How many people do you
normally we'd have 8,000 at that.
Mostly have small bars. You You have Sweden, you have Stockholm.
Spread out.
Yeah. You have some urban areas. You have a lot of areas that are spread out.
Only inflate little sacs in the lungs, the alveoli lungs, and that pulls carbon dioxide out of the bloodstream at a higher level so that you offload it more in the exhale. Now, these physiological sighs are the fastest way that I'm aware of from working in our lab at Spiegel to take that seesaw from too high level of stress to a little bit calmer. Double inhale, exhale. So this isn't breath work. This is a set of neurons that every kid and every adult, they use periodically, but we also consciously control through the diaphragm. So that's one way to bring things to the I think, James talked about it in his book, but those breath work of the sort where, kind of Tumo type breathing of doing 30, really offloading a lot of carbon dioxide, that causes the release of noradrenaline, norepinephrine. And noradrenaline, norepinephrine are Mother Nature's way of buffering us against infection and disease. Everyone thinks stress kills your immune system. It's the opposite. Stress activates your immune system. And that makes sense. If we suddenly had to forage or to get sick, this is why if you work, and then you finally rest, you're more likely to get sick as you go into that parasympathetic relaxed state because your immune system also gets shut off.
Is that why people in prison that are getting COVID-19 are not really getting sick? Many of them that are asymptomatic.
Could be. I didn't realize they were asymptomatic. Or if you're very sick for a very long time, eventually the immune system can't deploy these killer cells that it needs to deploy.
So there's a certain amount of stress that's actually beneficial to the immune system.
Right. I get very, I start doing eye rolls and I get a little frustrated when people are like,
Adrenal burnout. Is that nonsense?
I want to see, I teach neuroanatomy. Show me adrenal burnout. Show me an adrenals that won't secrete adrenaline anymore.
So why are they saying that? Like, where'd that come from?
Sounds good. Sounds better than parasympathetic, sympathetic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like this doctor was telling my friend that drinking coffee is burning out his adrenals.
I mean, it may be putting them into a state of heightened activation and they can't take it down a notch in the evening. They don't know how to relax. They don't know how to turn on their nervous system without doing things like eating or something, which is one way to do it. And I think as a society, we're struggling to manage this seesaw. I mean, we know that being in a chronic state of stress is bad physically. You don't want to do that, but you also don't want to mind. I mean, anytime you're stressed, you're also able to be recruited better by other people's stress. We know that.
Other people's stress.
Yeah, so my lab has also looked at like how stress spreads between people, how the autonomic nervous systems can. And we know that the best way to get what's called emotional is to get people into a heightened state. The Martin thing from way back when, he basically does comedy for dogs. He brings out dogs, and it's a perfect example of just breaking all the rules. The dogs are telling him what to do, and at first it's not funny, and then he keeps going. And what you I want to use the word hypnotize.
To me, it's so odd that they just let them camp out. Like, I went to Venice the other day for dinner, and we're driving by this house. There's a beautiful house to my left. $100 million. And in front of it, there's 13 tents. I'm like, this is crazy.
The last time I was down here was in March, and around the time, who knows when it hit, but there's a block on Venice Boulevard, Erewhon Market, that was one block, and I drove in the other night to extend the second.
Yeah, and they don't do shit about it. And I don't know what they're going to do. Every time they go in the underpass. Maybe even the one over here on Winnetka, they put a porta potty there and a hand washing station. Like, you give up here, shit in this bucket. It's like, wow. It's just, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's bigger fish to fry, maybe there's more important things right now with COVID.
I can't think of anything more important than making sure that sites have a shelter. And the route to do that is not my expertise. I think ideas about that, but the homeless problem to me is very large. There are neighborhoods in Berkeley, you go down towards the street, it used to be kind of an artist district, you get down to the park, they call it Rock Beach Park, and that always likes to see infections and stuff. So there, plus it's an entire city of people living in the avenues.
Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do about it, and there doesn't seem to be any solution. I mean, there's nothing on the table. No one's doing it. They're just letting it grow. It's so weird. So, I mean, I don't want to be the person that shit to do. Aren't you funders? They're mayors and congressmen. That should just
I mean, I'm not a person. I'm very disappointed at, well, a lot of things, but I see a lot of great things. But I also see most even in the scientific accurately what's going on. There's so much confusion. And, you know, I don't want to get into the COVID thing because it's not my expertise, but the fact of the matter is that science has also, you know, there are a lot of people who don't believe in science. But science has also failed at some level to get out there and explain to people what they need to know.
Who are the people that don't believe in
Well, there are the anti-vaxxer, flat earth people. And that's
for the most part.
And I think the ease with which celebrity can just decide that vaccinations work a certain way or work a certain way, and it spreads so quickly, and people love that idea that, you know, I try and look at it through the lens of neuroscience and say, what is it about the mind where people can't seem to can string together all these random dots into a theory that this was all caused by 5G or something that makes no sense at all. So it tells me that, yes, people are challenged, but in addition to that, I do think that the scientific community has a responsibility. You know, let's not go after Fauci specifically, but why isn't there a team of scientists out there saying, as a team, we've figured out this, that, and the other thing?
Jamie was just bringing this up earlier before the show that someone was being criticized because they said we should have more experts to draw upon other than Fauci. And this person who was interviewing, explain what they were saying.
Yeah, I was on CNN this morning. She just kept asking, what's your problem with Fauci? And you said, well, there's other bunch of people at Stanford. They named someone specific, I don't remember off the name. But just talk to other people. And she's like, we have other epidemiologists coming on the program. Why not try this person, this person, this person? I just kept grilling him on Fauci. Why do you keep asking about Fauci? Very strange.
Right, when
That's not the issue. The issue is divergent opinions are important, particularly when it comes to medicine and science. Like, there's different perspectives, and also equally educated experts who vary on what they think the approach should be. And I think regarding the COVID thing is completely unique, right? Because it is a novel coronavirus, so we really don't know. We don't know, and you go back and listen to what the in January versus what Fauci was saying in March versus what they're saying today in July is very different. So clearly, there's no one expert who has a fucking finger right on the pulse and like, I got this. This is what we need to do. Listen to
China, they are working, chipping away. In Europe, they are working and chipping away in a way that is in keeping with the reality that is. Here, reality is getting very distorted.
There's also a problem with, and it's not because of Fauci, but Fauci represents to a lot of people a point of ideological loyalty, right? Which we are aware of. These are real things, and you don't hear a peep out of this, which is to me very.
I'm very disappointed. I guess that's what I was saying poorly before, and you said much more clearly now, which is, you know, I'm disappointed that he's the only person out there and the only voice. Not because I don't believe what he's saying is valid, but because I think there are other things that are important. First of all, the stress problem has not been in the system, and we need to teach people those things.
Yeah, I wish that was a big part of the government, whether it's local government or national government, the focus of not just telling people to stay inside, be scared, wash your hands, wear a mask, do all those things, but also exercise, drink more water, take vitamins, you know, teach people meditation techniques, give people some tools that can help them get the proper sleep that they need, because I think these are all immense factors.
I agree. I mean, the foundation of our well-being is very basic. It's tighter sleep, gratitude, social connection, nutrition, exercise. You start hearing about this thing and you kind of go, well, it's not exciting, it's not the magic pill. But I think of all that as kind of the tide that comes in that's required to bring the boat out to sea. You know, I think people think about the thing that's going to trampoline them up to the highest position. You know, that's going to suddenly turn them into a hydroplane. And I'm doing some work with a former team guy, Pat Dossett, and Blake Mike Kosky, who's starting to talk. So just full disclosures. And they've got this company, this program that's really about building foundation, like for the everyday person. It's great, and I also feel like our government should be sending messages out because we're really lacking that. And I think the instability of the situation that we see today has a lot, the psychological response to all this has a lot to do with the fact that we didn't hit COVID prepared. We didn't hit this situation prepared. The world was, the United States is badly obese, very serious medical problem, badly obese, and stressed.
I'm gonna send this to you, Jamie, so you can put this up on the screen. Because I mean, if you're engaging with people on social media, I've talked about this multiple times on the show. There's people I follow that don't even know I'm following them because I just have them bookmarked because they're just so toxic. I want to know what they're doing. I'll just go to them, I'm like, look at this motherfucker. He's on Twitter 12 hours a day, yelling at people, arguing constantly, and I just imagine that their mind is a fucking chaos, just a wreck, just potholes and burning buildings. Their head is just filled with shit.
But it's effective. In a terrible way, it's effective. It's like in the engineers, talk about signal versus noise, and the brain is essentially an engineered machine. It looks for where signal is high above the noise. And so there really is a payoff nowadays. Short-term, deleterious payoff, but payoff nonetheless, for being able to recruit people's attention, recruit their autonomic nervous system, get those into those having to click and follow and scroll. Now, I agree that I think social media, like for instance, I do some science on social media. I've managed to create connections through social media. We have to be very judicious in our use of it, and that's hard for most people. And what I think is going to happen is that we're going to talk about signal and noise. I think what's going to happen is we're going to start selecting for people that are very good at controlling their attention, are very good at separating themselves from technology as well as using technology. And so for people that are just rapidly consuming technology and information, thinking this is the way to live a good life or to get ahead, they're actually just falling into people that are, I think it's one of the reasons why a select set of individuals have been so effective at controlling the landscape. Lots of landscapes, let's just say that. And I think that we need to think about whether or not we're in the noise or whether or not we're, paying attention to these big peaks of signal. And what's that? We're getting recruited. We're getting, kind of groomed by these things. And it is scary. And at the same time, I agree. I think that eventually we will this. I do. That's what the human animal is good at.
Yeah, I think we're in the technological dark ages. That's what I think. I think there's some weird thing where there's a lot of people going, this is not good, kids. This is not good. But most people are like, fuck you! And just wading into the fray.
Because it feels kind of good.
Yeah, well, especially when you don't have real meaning or purpose in your life because you're unemployed, you're stuck at home because of COVID, and you're scared. Well, that's a way that people occupy their mind and engage. And you're seeing a big uptick in at least the people that I'm paying attention to, the toxicity of their exchanges. It's just
well, this is kind of scary, and I'm sort of hesitant to just kind of flip to another research study, but there was this guy in the 60s, this guy Robert Heath, who didn't need patients who had epilepsy. He just got permission. So he put electrodes into their brains, and he let them stimulate. And they'd stimulate one area, and they'd feel drunk. They'd stimulate another area, they'd feel sexual arousal. They'd stimulate another, and they'd start. The number one area that people like to stimulate, mild frustration, which is totally perplexing on the face of it. Why would people like that more than sexual arousal or feeling drunk or happy or whatever? It turns out that this dopamine system we were talking about earlier is tethered to that, and it very likely explains not just the human animal, but all animals' ability to lean into challenge in order to acquire more resources, right? Because the dog, you outsource your vision to the dog. There are now glasses that blind people can wear, walk down the street, and it communicates with somebody in a dispatcher who says, oh, you know what, there's something sketchy. And it works really well, but it's very expensive. And of course, privacy is an issue. You get home, you start undressing, the person looking at you in the mirror.
right.
And maybe people do, but but that's a whole different business, you know. But people like Dan are amazing, and I do believe, you know, the hope is that people like Dan will eventually sell. But that's going to require new sales measures. For him, he's going to need new eyes. So Dan actually he had this pigmentosa. He had his eyes removed.
Whoa.
So whenever people are like, sometimes you'll see on social media, people will say, I don't believe he's blind. It's like, the guy doesn't even have eyes. Anyway, that's a whole universe of stuff. But if you would like to explore visual repair and visual restoration, obviously, more, happy to.
Yeah. Just party rolling. You just isn't that crazy?
Sorry.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Great conversation. I really appreciate it. If people want to get a hold of you on social media, Twitter, Instagram, what do you have?
I have a Twitter, but I don't use it. I'm on Instagram. It's Huberman Lab, HUBERMALAB. I teach neuroscience there.
Beautiful.
And we recruit subjects to the lab for studies every now and again. I will announce them there. And yeah, that's the deal. Eventually, I'm supposed to write a book, but I've been too busy doing science.
Well, listen, man, this was so much fun, and I think we could probably do 100 of these. So let's do it again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really
Appreciate
appreciate you. All right, bye, everybody.
Government was just as bad. They killed people from these guys.
Yeah.
Wall Street does it. What the fuck are you looking at?
Cops plan evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm not defending them.
No,
I mean,
but
it's
that was
good
there.
that the mob's not around, but they did a great job with Vegas.
They did a good job with
They
Vegas.
ran Vegas very nice.
This guy ended up giving me 700 customers by the time I graduated college.
Oh, so you had a whole pool cleaning
I
business by
had
then?
a giant business, knock on wood, that were mostly connected to. And I became friends with all these guys.
Wow.
And could just go on anybody's. It was pretty unbelievable. It's pretty surreal thinking back. And I wanted, like, who wouldn't want to be that? You're a young kid in this neighborhood. They got money, respect, beautiful cars. Like, I want to be that.
That's the problem with that and with young kids growing up around gang members or drug dealers, like you look at that and you're like, they have things that I don't have, and they live this life, they get respect from people,
Yeah.
they're feared,
Yeah.
it looks attractive.
And one of the boss's wives said to me one day, she's like, I was alluding to like, how do I get my make my bones? And, I had red hair, light skin. Everybody else had dark hair, dark skin. And this was from the wife,
Oh, good for
one of the
her.
bosses. So yeah, that kind of set me straight.
So this guy, you find this guy, he's 600 plus pounds, you whittle him down to, what'd you say, 260?
260.
Big fella already, must be, right?
Yeah, you got to see that. I probably can find a photo of pants.